Nosy Nancy's is a true crime podcast based in Austin, Texas. If you are sensitive to any of the trigger words, this is not the podcast for you. Due to its graphic nature, listener discretion is advised.
Somewhere between the sandy and again and again. Well, I was just pretending that it's all just a dream. A little condescending to believing in it. I'm getting the notion that I'm going all in.
Not to be nitpicky, but you do clear your throat a lot. Just to let you know.
Listen, I've got allergies, and I smoke.
Okay.
Okay.
Hey, all you nosies. I'm Maliqua.
And I'm Jasmine, and welcome to Nosy Nancy's Season 2, Episode 2.
I think this is going to be an interesting episode.
I think so, too.
We brought the tea, honey, is what we did.
I think so.
I know. Lift up your pinkies. Sit back and take a sip, because we're bringing it. It's hot. It's piping.
Oh, I was like, what are we lifting our pinkies for? But yeah, I get it.
How was your week?
It was good. It was long. I'm prepping for Todd's birthday. Is going to be Monday, so his family's coming down this weekend, and then next weekend we're doing stuff. So we're going to be celebrating Todd.
Happy birthday, Todd. What did you get him? You could say it now, because by the time he hears this, he'll already...
I got him something that I think that he'll like, but I'm not going to say in case he doesn't like it, but I think that he'll like it. I'm really bad about I already bought him like 2 other things that were meant for his birthday, but I'm like, here's a Halloween gift. And like,
oh my God.
Here's a just because gift. So,
oh,
yeah.
That's sweet. You give him gifts a lot.
Yeah, I'm bad about keeping secrets. So he gets all the gifts when I get them. But this one, I tried to give it to him already, and he was like, no, if you're not going to have anything like to give me on my birthday, then I'll just save it. So I'm like, each and every day, I'm like, are you sure you don't want your gift today? He's a little joy. He's the light of my life. Aside from you, of course.
He's like the light of your life, but I'm like the sparkler, you know?
Yeah, you're doing a bunch of crazy shit, and Todd's constant flame.
You hold me close, but sometimes I burn you just a little bit, though.
Just a little bit. Like the critique that you gave me earlier.
Well, I know. Well, like, I don't want to, I'm like, okay, do I tell her? Because, I don't want to hurt, I don't want her to get mad at me, but, it keeps happening. Like, I was editing. Sorry. No, it's okay. I was editing, and I was like, damn. I was like, how? I was like, it sounds like a car racing down this. You got some powerful lungs there.
I get it's allergy season. We're living in Texas, and I gotta clear my fucking throat every once in a while. And yeah, I do it a lot, but you know what? I've been listening to other people, and they do it a lot too. But Alik was just like, you clear your throat too much, shut it up, or whatever.
I'm like, can you please stop? Can you just please suffer for me? Because you not suffering is really affecting when I talk.
Yeah, exactly. She's like, just, if you need to clear your throat, just die of dry drowning rather than interrupt my speaking. So I'll try to be more aware of that in the future.
Okay. Thank you. I'll have Todd on call just in case you pass out.
Okay,
he
wonderful.
Could just give you some paddles, to give me pop you back.
Mouth to mouth.
Oh hey, hubba, hubba.
What do you?
Whose birthday is it? Whose birthday is it anyways?
What do you have going on? What'd you do this week, or what are you doing?
Oh man, this week was so busy for me. I had a lot of work. I almost said I had a lot of work done, like I'm some rich bitch from Hollywood Hills. It's my nephew's 5th birthday.
Amazing.
I know, he's so cute. He's got a big ass head.
Really? I feel like a
little...
lot of toddlers have like insane ass, like big ass melons.
Like my nieces too. My nieces and my nephew, like, how do they stand upright? I feel like their head would just so heavy, it just falls to the ground. But he is cute, you know. He's like, it's like a little T-Rex, you know, in those cartoon T-Rexes where like their heads are huge and their little hands and arms are tiny. Yeah, that's me basically too. I never grew out of it.
Built like a T-Rex.
Yeah, built like a T-Rex. So I'm gonna drive up there tomorrow. I might see you on Saturday.
Stopping on by to see us. We'd love to see you.
Bestie. Yeah, and celebrate Todd's birthday.
Celebrate little Todd. He's turning 34? 34?
Oh, wow.
We're all in our 30s. Can you believe it?
Almost not in my 30s. This is my last year of being in my 30s.
You can always lie about your age. Don't look almost 40.
I think that's because everybody around me is too poor to have eye insurance, and so they just can't really see very well because you can't see the wrinkles because you need glasses.
See, Todd has glasses, and sometimes if he looks at me for too long, I get really self-conscious. Like, what is he seeing? Like, back up a little bit because I'm worried. Yeah.
Can you maybe look at me from 2 miles away? Thank you.
Yeah, maybe take your glasses off if you're gonna if you're gonna have a lingering look at me.
Yeah, no, I strictly only date people who are visually impaired.
So you don't have to worry about what they're taking a look at.
But it never lasts for some reason. On Sunday, I have a Zoom meeting with a girl who's doing a documentary about the Lady Bird Lake serial killings.
Oh, amazing.
At first, I thought she was just going to, like, talk to me, and I was like, yeah, sure, I'll talk. And she's like, no, it's going to be on Zoom. I'm like, wait. I'm like, you have to, like, video record me? And she's like, yeah. I'm like, do you have to, though? I'm like, how's your vision? Do you have insurance for vision?
Are your eyes insured?
Yeah. How well? Are we talking 2060, 2040? What are we saying here?
What do you got going on there with those eyes?
Yeah. Since we're doing it on Sunday, I wonder if I should just have her bring you on too, because it's for the Austin drownings.
Oh, okay. This is news to me. Typically, I like to know at least like 3 weeks ahead of time, but
typically I would like to know 3 years before.
Yeah, but okay.
I went on a date with this guy, and we went to North Loop. Do you remember where I used to live in those apartments?
Yeah.
It is so different there now.
Really?
Oh my God. Everything is so hip. There's like this cute little video store called We Love Video, and it's a like a branch off of I Love Video. Yeah. And in the back is like a little theater with like, that's where like the horror section is. And it's just fucking, it's so cool. And then across the street was like a saloon that I want to check out too.
But you
I just don't have
been
time. Yet? No, because like.
Adulting is like, you can't even live life as an adult. Like everything's surrounds like your job and all this shit, and I'm just like, God damn, this life is a trap.
It is. And like, I guess like when we started this, I didn't have a life, and it was fine.
Yeah.
And now that we started this, I'm like, oh my God, I'm so busy. So it's like, it's kind of crimping my hermit style.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, nobody's just letting me fucking, like, stay in my bed and eat Cheetos all day.
Oh my God, hot Cheetos. I love those.
I know, me too. Well, on that note,
okay.
You want to start us off with
Debra Sue Reiding was born on October 18th, 1960 in Enid, Oklahoma. She married a man named Robert on November 18th, 1978. They road tripped for their honeymoon, and they moved into their first apartment at a South Austin. So they had like literally just gotten married.
Where did they go? Where did they go for their road trip? Did it say?
Yeah, they moved. They moved into their first apartment.
Oh.
That's what. They took a little road trip from Oklahoma to Austin.
Got it.
And moved into their first apartment together at a South Austin complex that at the time was called the Algarita Apartments, just off of the South Congress Strip. But now it's known as the Cascades apartment complex.
I looked that up on the map, and it's not too far from 35.
Yeah. I-35 does come up in this story.
Oh, okay.
So
look at me. I'm a psychic.
They were trying to escape. At the time that they moved to Austin, they were actually living in Montana. So scratch what I said before, because they were living in Montana at the time.
Okay. All right. So for their honeymoon, they drove from Montana to Austin.
They moved into their first apartment. And it was to escape the Montana winters. I guess they were too harsh. So it was going to be like a temporary move until Montana got a little bit warmer. And to make extra money, Robert started working with his uncle at his air conditioning company, which was in Austin. And Debra...
That's a good place.
Yeah.
Good place to have it.
Yeah. Debra began working at a since closed steakhouse called the Montana Mining Company.
Never heard of it.
So it's closed.
Oh.
And this was the 70s, 1979.
Yeah, that makes sense.
1979.
Yeah, I wasn't even alive then, so it makes a lot of sense.
So on January 22nd, 1979, Robert came home to find Debra lifeless, wearing a flannel nightshirt and a robe. She had been strangled, and she was placed in bed under the covers with a pillow over her head.
What the fuck?
Yeah. They did not have a phone in the apartment, so Robert had to actually run to a payphone to call the police. Because, again, this was 1979.
Right. That's interesting, because it's like, he worked at an AC place, right?
Yeah.
So he couldn't have been, I mean, I don't imagine them working up until like 8 or 9 at night. Like, it must have been during the day.
Yeah, he came home relatively early in the day. The police determined that the time of Debra's death was somewhere in between the time that Robert left for work, obviously, which was about around 7 a.m. to 11 a.m. A relative did say that they had stopped by in the afternoon, but they knocked and nobody answered, and they kind of waited around a minute and then just ended up leaving. And a neighbor said that it was quiet throughout the day, so they didn't hear anything unusual or see anything, or, there was no struggle.
Right.
Additionally, like, the police said that there was no sign of a struggle in the apartment whenever Debra was found. Debra was bound, gagged, strangled, and she had 2 light cuts on the neck and 1 cut on the shoulder.
Oh my God.
Police.
From what? Like, from what?
From a sharp blade. So that's all they said. So
they probably had a knife then.
Yeah.
They're probably holding her at knife point.
Well, police dismissed the cuts at the time as just like a form of torture. She had been raped. Her hands were tied behind her back. And it's believed that both legs were tied separately, like to keep them open.
Oh, God. Jesus Christ.
She was gagged and her eyes were covered. So obviously this was a pretty brutal raping and killing. DNA was found on the bathrobe that Debra was wearing. There were no signs of forced entry, but the patio door was unlocked. So the back patio door.
This was in 1979.
1979.
I wonder if Raul Meza Jr. was out of prison in 1979.
Ooh. That's a great question.
Yeah, because he was super, like, into, like crazy sexual assaults. Like, he was kind of torturous, wasn't he? 1960. Okay, he was born in 1960. So in 1979, he would have been 19. Yeah. Makes his first arrest until 1975.
Why do my notes for this look so disorganized? Like, what was I doing? I know that I read them pretty good, but what the fuck was I doing? Because I can't find shit on here.
New Year's Eve in 1975, Meza joined 3 others in robbing an Austin convenience store. Yeah, he served 5 years. So in 1975, so I think he was in prison. Yeah. Or wait, see, it was New Year's Eve in 1975, so it just turned 1975.
Yeah.
No, it was just turning 1976. So 5 years he would have been out in 1981. Sorry. Which, yeah, this murder took place in 1979.
Okay.
Well, there goes my theory.
It's a good theory, though. I mean, he got out early in every other fucking case, so.
Right.
So with the patio door being unlocked, that left a few possibilities for the police. Entry via the patio door from an unknown assailant.
Right.
Possibility number 2, Debra opened the door, like, to do something out there, and somebody forced their way in. Or it's somebody that Debra knew that she had let in, thinking that they were just coming to visit or whatever.
I mean, because that's bold. That's bold to, like, break into somebody's house in broad daylight and sexually assault them and murder them.
Right.
At an apartment complex where there's a ton of people at all times.
Yeah. And nobody heard anything or saw anything weird. You know what I mean? Like, if somebody... I mean, I can't turn a corner and have somebody be standing there without at least screaming, you know? So you would think that if she was unprepared for someone to be trying to force their way in, she would make enough noise for someone to notice.
I mean, unless they told her to shut up because they had a knife at her throat.
Yeah, I mean, that's true, but I wouldn't be paying attention to that. I mean, if somebody, like, if you were opening the patio door to go outside and someone, like, grabbed you and, like, forced you inside, you wouldn't make a noise. I wouldn't even notice the knife.
Well, first of all, ain't nobody pulling me nowhere unless I let them, okay? If they put the knife, like, at her throat immediately or came up, or they could have covered her mouth from behind, maybe, and muffled her screaming.
Okay. I see what you mean.
Look, people are nosy. I'm nosy.
We're nosy
When I lived
Nancy's.
in an apartment, when we lived in Bullard, we were always wondering what Rusty was doing, our next door neighbor.
Do you remember we bought those sonic ears so that we could sit on the porch and, like, try to hear what the people walking by were saying.
Oh my God.
Which was basically just like a big ass microphone attached to some headphones.
So stupid. I wonder whatever happened to those. I bet they were in my car for years and years and years.
Probably. They really didn't work.
God. They didn't. No, it wasn't. It wasn't what. How did we even get those? Did we order them online?
Yes. Yeah, because the commercials were like, hear everything that your neighbors are doing. Yeah, we were like, yeah.
We wanted that. Yeah. Yeah. But we thought we were so smart.
Yeah.
And slick.
With our big ass microphones attached to
so,
headphones.
How embarrassing, because I was like 25. Okay.
Yeah.
I was like 25 and we were like walking down the neighborhood. Yes. Headphones with a microphone trying to listen to what people were saying. Oh my God, I'm sure that's illegal, but whatever. Can't arrest us now.
It was way back.
Statute of limitation.
Yeah, it was way back then.
Yeah.
So Robert was not a suspect because they just were newlyweds. I mean, I guess that after a certain amount of time, the husband becomes more of a suspect because obviously people get tension the longer that they're together. And with this only happening 2 months into their like Austin life, they didn't think that Robert was a suspect at all. They also believed that because of the way that the scene was, that somebody might have, the person who did this might have attacked somebody before.
Oh, okay.
There was in the late 70s and early 80s, like a string of sexual assault cases that at the time that this took place were still cold. So the string took place along I-35. So the police kind of thought that this was all done by the same person at the time. And that ended up being not the case. But because they didn't really have any other leads, the case ended up stalling and it was marked as a cold case. So once a year at least, Debra's brother, Rodney Wilt, would kind of check in and be like, hey, you know, don't forget about my sister's case. We're still waiting to hear answers about what happened to her.
Right.
So in 2013, her case got a fresh detective on it, and that detective noticed that one of Debra's coworkers from 1979, Michael Anthony Galvin, was never ruled out as a suspect. Galvin was 25 at the time of the murder, and he worked with Debra, I'm sure, you know, in the kitchen or something at the Montana Mining Company. And police had spoken to him at several points over the past 40 years because he was really the only person of interest in the case that refused to give a DNA sample. So his behavior was always marked as suspicious, but they just never could get what they needed to pin it on him.
Oh, okay.
In 2017... police obtained a warrant for Galvin and ended up collecting a DNA sample. I'm not sure. Like one article said it was toothpicks. Another article said it was like a Coke can or a piece of food or something. But either way, they got his DNA.
Okay.
And it was a match for the DNA that was found on Debra's robe.
Shut up.
Yeah. They went to the barbershop that Galvin was working at, who was now in his 60s, by the way.
Oh my God.
At the time. They scooped him up, you know, and took him to jail.
Now, this is the Austin Police Department in the 70s, so maybe that's why. But I'm surprised the Austin Police Department kept that evidence for so long. that they were able to positively ID a DNA match.
Yeah. I mean, me too. Especially after, like, the unpreserved, like, rape DNA, rape kit DNA shit. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And just how they handled Chris Clark and how they just destroyed his clothes and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. They preserved the sample well, and they did find a match.
Mm-hmm.
So if they found a match and they get this guy, why is the case marked cold?
Yeah, why is it marked cold?
Oh.
Obviously something happened.
Only the charges against the dude got dropped.
What? Why?
So when they were preparing for trial, there was some issues, first of all, with Galvin's story, because over the course of his line of questioning, he originally claimed that he didn't know who Debra was at all. And then he said, yeah, I knew her, and I dropped her off at her house a couple of times. Gave her a ride home.
So he knew where she lived.
And then he stated that him and Debra were having an affair together.
Right. Because 2 months into a marriage, she's already stepping out.
Yeah, she's already gonna be riding a different wave. But
yeah,
because he had stated those things, police knew that taking the trial, they wanted obviously a jury trial. Taking it to trial, there would be questions over the fact that there was no struggle that was seen, and that Debra very well could have known this person. If they were having an affair and she let him in and he didn't do it, then that would be, they couldn't prove.
They weren't 100% sure on his, like,
that he would be able to be convicted.
Yeah, on his conviction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there was that. Also, something else is that 40 years had passed. So some of the witnesses that they were able to gather at that time didn't really remember what they saw that day or what they might have heard. And also, one of the witnesses had actually passed away during that time. So they were down a witness. So the prosecution later ended up dismissing the charges.
Yeah, because I can't even remember what I fucking had for breakfast.
Yeah.
So, like, how am I going to remember something from 40 years ago?
So the DNA snag that they ran into is because the DNA on the bathrobe that they found, really, who's to say that the DNA was specifically from the actual murder? Like, if they were having an affair, like what Galvin said that they were, it could have been another time that they were together that he would have gotten that DNA on the robe, which can't be proven or disproven, and would explain his DNA being in the house.
I mean, it's possible, but is it probable? I don't think so.
No.
No,
of course not. But it also was on record that Galvin drove her home, and it's a reasonable doubt. So Galvin's attorney, Amber Vasquez, had asked the judge not to dismiss the case because she wanted to push it to trial so that Galvin could be acquitted, and that would prevent further charges from being refiled and would reestablish his reputation. Initially, the judge had denied the prosecutor's dismissal request, but later he did grant it. And as of June 2020, Galvin is a free man, and Debra, her case is still marked cold.
Right, because you can't fucking try him again for the same crime.
Yeah.
God. I mean, that... It's such a like it literally is his word against somebody who's passed away.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
She can't corroborate nor deny his claims that they were having an affair, but like it just seems far-fetched that she would be cheating on her newly wed husband, you know?
Yeah, within 2 months of them moving to a new place and getting married and...
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, this is all just a very fresh...
Yeah.
...thing.
Right. Right. And, like, also, what a coincidence that, you know, he did it. He totally did it.
He had to have. He had to have.
God, what a creep. Guess he's still in Austin.
I'm assuming that he's still in Austin because he stayed there for 40 fucking years whenever they kept bringing him in for questioning. And I mean, now he's kind of at a point where he's untouchable for it.
Dude, that's crazy. What a crazy fucking case, dude. And then, like, and I want to know more about the rash of sexual assaults along I-35, too.
Well, I mean, I can't make any promises, but one of the ladies that I was considering doing next episode is one of those people. Okay. I just don't know how much information I'm going to find. I didn't do a deep dive. I just took a quick glance, and there doesn't seem to be a ton there, but I'll definitely look into it and mention her.
Yeah. Because that's pretty interesting. Are you ready for mine?
I am.
So this is a cold case. It's kind of like yours in the fact that they're pretty sure they know who did it, but it's legally still a cold case. All right?
Okay.
On June 23rd, 1965, in Houston, Texas, police captain Charles Bullock and partner L.M. Barta were called for a welfare check to the home of 80-year-old Fred and 72-year-old Edwina Rogers. Now, before we go any further, there's been accounts that some said that she was 79, and there's been other that said that she was 72. The autopsy report said that she was 72, and autopsy reports have to go through like a fact-checking process. Uh-huh. So I'm going to go ahead and say that she was 72 years old.
Okay. I'll let it slide. I mean, autopsy, like, we gotta be like trees, right? Like, you cut us open and, like, count the rings.
Yeah, exactly. That's how they do. That's how they teach you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Edwina's nephew, Marvin Martin, called in as he was unable to get a hold of either Mr. or Mrs. Rogers by phone or when he attempted to knock on their door. When there was no answer on either end, he called the police. Upon arrival to their home, Captain Bullock didn't see anything unusual at first, until he went around back and found dozens of flower pots stacked up against the back entryway to the house.
Ew, that's creepy.
Mm-hmm. I also should note here that I didn't write this down, but all the doors and windows were locked, which I think is pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Which means, because that means that nobody broke in.
Right.
Although this was meant as a deterrent, Bullock and his partner Barta gained admittance into the house, and the two immediately split up to search for any signs of the Rogers. While his partner Barta scoured the other parts of the house, Bullock focused his search efforts on the kitchen. Wandering around the elderly couple's kitchen, Bullock recalled a nagging feeling that something just wasn't right. Different accounts have suggested that Bullock's instincts were tipped off because food had been stacked outside of the refrigerator instead of inside, but Bullock himself went on record saying, quote, "I don't know why I looked in the refrigerator," he said. "For some reason, I just opened it."
Probably because there's food stacked on the outside. I'd be like, right. What's all this food doing here?
I'd be like, wow, they're just going to let this go to waste. I better try it.
See what else is in here. Yeah.
Yeah. At first glance, the contents inside the refrigerator seemed normal, but upon further investigation, Bullock would note that there were shelves upon shelves of what looked like hog meat stacked in the refrigerator.
Gross.
I mean, But I mean, if you shoot a boar, I mean, that's a ton of meat, right? I mean, you got to store it somewhere.
I mean, I guess, but I don't shoot boars.
No, me either. I doubt an 80-year-old would either.
Yeah. Good. That's a good point.
Yeah. At first thought, Bullock assumed someone had gone to the butcher, perhaps to cut up a wild hog someone shot. But as he was closing the door, something in the vegetable drawer caught his eye. Tucked away where the radishes and the carrots should have been was the severed heads of Fred and Edwina Rogers.
Oh my God! In the vegetable drawers?
Could you fucking imagine opening up a fridge and you think, oh, there's going to be maybe some leftovers, some meatloaf, maybe some cake, and you see a fucking pair of eyes staring at you? Hell no. I'd be gone. That's when my diet would start.
Yeah. I don't know that I could ever eat again. I'm not hungry anymore.
No, me either. I'm never going to eat again, probably. Bullock remembers freezing, shutting the door, and then opening it again to find the heads were still there. Despite the butchered meat being the remains of Fred and Edwina, the killer was very meticulous with the cleanup of the scene. There was no blood found in the kitchen. However, Fred Rogers' eyes had been gouged out and his genitals were removed and entrails were flushed down the toilet, later to be found in the sewer system.
Oh my God.
Dude, that sounds personal to me.
Yeah, that's very personal.
Mm-hmm. Autopsies revealed that Mrs. Rogers died of a gunshot to the head, while Mr. Rogers was bludgeoned to death by a hammer. None of the murder weapons were ever found. That's really interesting because that means that, like, Mrs. Rogers, her death was fast.
I mean, they definitely had it out specifically for him.
Yeah, more so for him, for sure. 5 years prior to the gruesome murders of Fred and Edwina Rogers, their only son, Charles Rogers, moved into the family home at 1815 Driscoll Street. Charles Rogers was no ordinary man. Having served in World War II as part of the Navy, he graduated with a degree in nuclear physics and worked as a seismologist for Shell Oil and Gas. While he was in the Navy, he also obtained his pilot's license.
Have you seen Tremors?
Oh my God, I love Tremors.
I do too. And every time somebody talks about seismology, that's all I think about is that girl. Graboids. What a great movie.
My favorite part of that movie was when they're like, when that guy fell off or jumped off the trailer or whatever, or something happened, and they're like, get up high, get on something.
Yeah.
And he gets on a tire.
Yeah.
That would be me.
That is such a gut. That's one of my favorite Kevin Bacon movies for sure. Yeah. And I don't know if Reba was ever in another movie. I know she had the show, but
that's her best character she ever played.
Yeah, I think so. And I think probably too, like, closest to who she actually is as a person.
Charles lived in a room in the attic of his parents' home and often would only communicate through notes he would slip from underneath his door, which I think is fucking bizarre.
Yeah, that's like weird behavior.
That's like some Ed Gein shit.
Yeah.
He would leave the house before the sun rose, and he would come home after the sun set. His cousin Marvin didn't even know he lived with Fred and Edwina, as he never saw him when he would visit the Rogers at their home. So this guy had been with his parents for 5 years, and his cousin had no fucking clue he lived there. That's batshit to me.
I'm pretty sure I know who did it.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that the crime can be solved. I mean, obviously, he just had absolutely no respect for them. Probably a fucking narcissistic asshole. Charles. Well,
I mean, obviously, he had some kind of mental disorder, because, like, why would you only communicate with, like, shoving notes under, I don't know, but it gets weirder. Okay, ready?
Okay.
The only blood found at the crime scene was on the keyhole of Charles's bedroom door. But by the time Bullock and his partner were at the house, Charles Rogers was long gone. A nationwide search for Charles came up with nothing, and he was officially declared dead in 1975, 10 years after the murder of his parents. The mystery doesn't stop there. There's been a lot of speculation on what happened to Charles, really. We're all in agreement that Charles probably killed his parents.
Obviously.
Bludgeoning his... Yeah, obviously. Like, he lived there. He was gone by the time anybody found anything. The autopsy report, the coroner believes that they were actually dead for 5 days. Yeah, before Bullock found them. And Marvin, his cousin, their nephew, said the last time he had talked to Edwina was 6 days before they found their bodies. I mean, 5 days is a long time for somebody to get out of the country, especially if you have a pilot's license and you have the know-all and the money to do it, because he was getting a good amount of money working for Shell, or at least he had. This is one of the theories, okay? Mm-hmm. This is a theory that somebody coined up with. Okay, so the first theory is, while he was a member of the Civil Air Patrol, Charles became a close friend of David Ferry. In 1956, Rogers joined the Central Intelligence Agency, an associate of Carlos Machello. Rogers was accused of being involved in the assassination of John F. Kennedy.
Jesus.
I know, it's just fucking weird. The forensic artist Louis Gibson claimed that Rogers was Frenchie, one of the 3 tramps, along with W. and Chauncey Holt, arrested in Dealey Plaza on 22nd November 1963. In the 1992 book, The Man on the Grassy Knoll, John R. Craig and Philip A. Rogers claimed that Rogers was the Lee Harvey Oswald imposter who traveled to Mexico City the month before the assassination. The author claims that Rogers and Charles Harrelson were the 2 gunmen behind the picket fence on the grassy knoll. What the fuck? I mean, how did that even come about?
That is insane.
I know. Isn't that crazy? I was like reading this and I was like, huh? Some people claim that one of the motives in Charles Rogers killing his parents is due to them finding out his involvement in the JFK assassination and his ties to the CIA. That doesn't make sense, because, like, why would he kill his father that way?
Right.
Like,
yeah, that's like some brat is fucking mad at their dad.
Yeah. If he was just going to kill them to shut them up, he would have killed them both execution style. Like,
right.
You know what I mean? You didn't want them to suffer. However, in 1992, the Dallas Police Department revealed that the 3 tramps were Gus Abrams, John F. Gedney, and Harold Doyle. Ray and Mary LaFontaine carried out their own research into this claim. They traced Doyle and Gedney, who confirmed they were 2 of the tramps in the photograph. Gus Abrams was dead, but his sister identified him as the 3rd tramp in the photograph. I don't even know. I guess he got infamous because of his parents' murder, and they just, like, some whack job tried to, like, place him as part of the CIA. I don't know.
I have no idea. That is so fucking weird and interesting.
So bizarre, right?
It reminds me a lot of... You remember that guy? I just looked him up to remember. You remember that guy? His name was Joel Guy Jr., who, like, in 2016, he basically got mad at his parents because he was just a brat. He was, like, 29 years old, and he was just a brat, and he'd never worked a day in his life, but his parents had some money, so he, like, dismembered them because they were talking about just, like, kicking him out and cutting him off. And he, like, dismembered them and, like, flushed, like, their bodies down the toilet and then, like, boiled his mom's head.
I mean, that's close to what happened.
It's pretty close, yeah.
Charles. Yeah. Another theory is, throughout Charles Rogers' life, his parents, Fred and Edwina Rogers, exploited him financially, taking out loans in his name and forging his signature on deeds to other properties he owned. And both parents were manipulative and abusive. The Icebox Murders, a 2003 book written by forensic accountants and amateur sleuths Hugh and Martha Gardiner, claimed that a few days after the murders, someone matching Charles's physical description was overheard asking about a job overseas using an alias. They claimed that Charles utilized his contacts in the oil and mining industries to land in Mexico. The book also asserts that Charles met a violent end of his own when a wage dispute involving some miners in Honduras ended with a pickaxe lodged into his head. The Houston Press labeled the Gardiners' book a work of fact-based fiction and supposition, leaving its conclusions up in the air. No concrete evidence appears to point to Charles winding up in Central America, though he did at one point own his own plane. Fleeing Houston via aircraft seems plausible, and with the Shell oil job taking him to Canada and Alaska, it is also possible he had contacts in another country that could have made setting up a new life easier. The case of the Icebox murders remains unsolved.
Damn.
When I was doing some research on this, there was a bunch of different sources that said that his parents were financially abusing him and manipulating him. And so, I mean, if you look back and how most socioeconomic families were back in the 1970s, like the father was kind of the head of the household.
Right.
So usually they, he would be making all the decisions and stuff. So if they were doing that to Charles, then it would make sense that Charles would
go after the dad.
Yeah, more violently than the mother. So it's pretty heavy. It's a pretty heavy case, but it's so interesting. And just all the different theories about it, it's crazy. It's crazy.
That is fucking insane.
I know. So many fucking crazy stories. They always want to tie somebody to the JFK assassination.
Yeah, what the fuck is going on? Is everybody involved in the CIA? How many people do I talk to on a daily basis that are involved in the CIA and the fucking JFK assassination that I have no clue? Evidently a lot.
And it's how do you know? And you don't know. You never know.
Yeah, because I would assume it would be like the mafia, where it's just don't worry about it. What?
Yeah. Don't ask any questions. You're suspicious.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no. I mean, yeah, it's just so funny to me because it's never oh, my dad worked for the government as a secretary. It's always my dad worked for the government as part of the CIA.
Yeah.
When really their dad probably just worked at the government, at the White House, but as a janitor.
At the DMV.
At the DMV or something.
My God.
And I saw the pictures that the people claimed he was a part of, and none of them looked like him. It's so obvious that he wasn't in any of those pictures that they were talking about. But
if you ask whoever, they're yeah, definitely him.
Yeah, definitely part of the CIA. Definitely was there to kill JFK for sure. God, don't these people have anything else better to do than to shoot JFK?
I know.
God.
How many fucking different people could have shot him?
And also it's the same with the Clintons. It's if you're gonna have a conspiracy theory, the Clinton administration or JFK.
Yeah. There's other people in government. Let's choose one of them.
So are you ready for this week's missing person?
Yes, I am.
All right. So this week's missing person is a guy who's been missing since 2019. So
he's been missing a while.
He's been missing a while. Yeah. His name is Brandon Crawford, And at the time of his disappearance, he was 33 years old. His height is 6 foot. His weight at this time of his disappearance was 185 pounds. His hair color is blonde. His eye color is blue. He does wear glasses. His facial hair is red. He was last seen January 16th, 2019, in his 2016 silver Hyundai Sonata. The license plate for that is GSW758, and it is a Texas license plate. He is missing from Leander, Texas. If you know him or you recognize him, if you could please call 512-424-5074. His case number is M1901007.
That's scary.
I know. It's super scary. They think the last time he was seen in person was January 14th, but I think they heard from him January 16th, 2019. I think that's it. That was a pretty heavy episode.
Yeah, it really was. My God.
I just want my parents to realize how good of children we are. I have not killed my parents. Okay? And I really think they should give me something badass for Christmas because
you didn't die this year by my hand gift.
Yeah, exactly. If you do like our podcast and you do want to hear more of us and you like listening in every week, if you can like it and share it and subscribe and rate it, that would be great because we could use your help.
Yeah. Like it on the social medias. I mean, you can like it to yourself too, but if you like it on the socials and share it, that would also be appreciated.
Yeah. But if you rate it on Apple or wherever you listen to our podcast on, it does help us be found by other possible viewers or listeners. So if you could do that, that'd be great.
Thanks in advance.
Thank you. Yeah. We'll be forever indebted to you.
But don't look for money because we're broke. You'll be in our thoughts.
You'll be in our WAP. Wishes and prayers.
Love that.
Isn't that what that means? If you do want to follow us on Instagram, our Instagram is
Nosy Nancy's.
And if you want to find us on Facebook, you can follow our page and you can join our group.
It's Nosy Nancy's, and then the group is Nosy Nancy's Podcast.
And we have a TikTok, but we're not really up on it as much as we should. And that's Nosy Nancy's Podcast. And if you have any questions, concerns, any criticism, you can email us at nosynancies@gmail.com. It's NOSEYNANCIES@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you.
We would, but I already received a criticism today, and I'm not handling it well, so...
You literally have brought it up every chance you can.
So, let's go ahead and leave me out of the criticisms for today. Thanks.
Jasmine's literally gonna be writing in right now. First of all, Aliqua, you suck.
Aliqua, you give too many criticisms.
Aliqua, please stop criticizing Jasmine's every move. Thank you.
Okay. Well, all right. Well, hopefully when you're editing, you'll find this episode's a lot better for you, so...
Oh, God, I love you so much.
I love you.
So funny. Next week, you're going to have somebody from Austin, and I'm going to have somebody from Texas.
Yes. Yeah,
okay,
can't wait.
Sounds good.
I'm ready.
Can't wait.
So, stay tuned.
Ciao.
C'est la vie, ma